Come on up, Chief. Good morning, and thank you for joining us here today on such short notice. This morning at 10:17, Newport Beach police officers finally put the handcuffs on John Henry Van Uden III on a warrant for murdering his own mother, Frances Marjorie Van Uden, for financial gain in March 1994. For 23 years after murdering his mother, Van Uden walked free and enjoyed living on a boat in Newport Beach. Law enforcement didn't forget this case. He might have thought he got away with it, but he did not. The Orange County District Attorney's Office has filed murder charges with special circumstances of murder for financial gain. Van Uden is being held without bail and is facing life in prison without parole. The Orange County District Attorney's Office worked alongside the Newport Beach Police Department, who, with the support of their city council, had the foresight to invest money to bring in outside help with the hope of finding Ms. Van Uden's killer. Through decades of old school detective work, this morning we're delivering justice to a son who is charged with ending the life of the person who gave him life. Ms. Van Uden was born in 1917 and lived through the Great Depression, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the war in Vietnam, only to be callously murdered in her own living room. Taken too soon, Ms. Van Uden was a mother of 3 and enjoyed spending time with her children and her grandchildren. Here to tell you more about the initial case and the multi-year investigation is Newport Beach Police Chief John Lewis. Following Chief Lewis's comments, there'll be some time for a few questions. Chief Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Caucus. On Saturday, March 5th, 1994, the Newport Beach Police Department received a call about 76-year-old Frances Marjorie Van Uden. Concerned neighbors had reported us that they hadn't seen Marjorie, how she'd like to be called, for the past 2 days. Officers responded to Mrs. Van Uden's home in the 1200 block of Keel Drive in Corona Del Mar to conduct a check of her welfare on that day. After arriving, our officers saw details that prompted the call from the neighbors. Papers piled up on the driveway, delivered milk spoiling on the front patio. Officers found an unlocked door to a bedroom. They entered the home and found Ms. Van Uden deceased in her living room. This woman, a mother of 3, grandmother of 5, did not pass peacefully in her sleep. The back of her skull had been brutally shattered with a blunt object. Our detectives immediately initiated a homicide investigation. Orange County Coroner's Office confirmed that Marjorie was killed on March 3rd, 2 days before her body was discovered. Throughout the course of the initial investigation, Marjorie's oldest son, John Henry Van Uden III, was identified as a possible suspect. Over the course of the next 23 years, our detective division conducted interviews, followed leads, and collected evidence in this case. The case was reviewed, developed, and expanded by a number of detectives over the years. We recently added cold case investigators to our division to further support these efforts. The result was the arrest of John Van Uden this morning in Dana Point for the murder of his mother. I want to take a moment to address the members of Mrs. Van Uden's family. Last week would have marked Marjorie's 100th birthday. But we here at the Newport Beach Police Department, along with you, have never forgotten what happened in March of 1994. We remain committed in our resolve to finding answers to what happened that day. I want to thank and recognize our District Attorney's Office. Thank them for their longstanding partnership with our department. We're grateful for them and for their support throughout the many years of this investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lewis. So this arrest serves as notice to those who commit crimes in Orange County that we're committed to the long game. We don't forget. We'll never forget these crimes. We'll continue to work on these crimes all the time. And so, as far as the criminals are concerned, please understand, you might think that you've gotten away with it, but you really don't know when you're going to be on the receiving end of a set of handcuffs. So thank you for joining us today. And this concludes our press conference. But before we start the question and answer period, just let me say that this is being recorded for our social media. And so if you ask a question, please ask it, come to the mic, and state your name or identify yourself and your news media station. Thank you.
Andrew Mullenbeck from KFI. What was kind of the break that led you to this man after 23 years?
Thank you. This was a long, complex case, and it was just the product of old school police work and investing time and interviews and over the years. You know, there's nothing, particular that would, in a event, so to speak, that led to this filing. Just a long grind, a long investigation.
Paul Anderson with City News. The financial gain, can you explain that, how he financially benefited from the arrest?
I think it's important to understand now that we're here to talk about the arrest and this investigation and our commitment to justice in this, but there's certain questions that are more appropriate to be part of the trial process. And in regards to that is something that we'll look forward to as the trial progresses.
You said that in the release it said that they had identified him early on as a possible suspect. What changed recently? Did new information come to light? Did you get any additional evidence that you can talk about?
Again, that will be coming forth as the trial progresses, but thank you for the question.
Hi, John. Michelle Geely, KCAL 9 CBS 2. Can you please share a little bit about this morning, what went on? This was at Dana Point Harbor, I trust, where his boat is docked. Can you share with us what your detectives did, how long they were there kind of staking out to arrest him, and what he said, if anything?
What I can tell you is that our detectives made the arrest this morning down in Dana Point Harbor, and the arrest really went off without incident. So it was unremarkable, frankly, in terms of the actual arrest itself this morning.
Generally, can you say, is it physical evidence, circumstantial, what kind of case is it?
I think it would be a mistake on our part to try to characterize the evidence at this point. This is going to be the subject of substantial court proceedings, litigation. So we're going to have to wait for that.
Is DNA involved at all?
No.
Is it fair to say that you knew it was him from the beginning and it was just a matter of poring over month after month, year after year, the evidence that you had? I mean, you knew all along that it was this guy. Is that fair to characterize it that way?
I think it's fair to characterize it that he was a strong suspect from the very beginning, and that the investigation was done over time, raised and reopened on different occasions, and reviewed over years. And Newport Beach brought in some assistance to help with that, to spend more time on it, and to go back over the evidence and to look to see what new evidence might be developed.
Did he live with her at the time, and was there any history of domestic calls involving the son?
I don't have recollection as to that specific fact, so I can tell you now.
Vargas, NBCLA. Can you talk at all about demeanor and these 23 years and what you think he's been doing all this time? It doesn't sound like he ran from the area at all.
I can tell you that he's been here locally, and that his residence in Dana Point had been one that was established.
You said he bought the boat with these financial gains?
I can't talk about that specifically.
Cooper Rommel, KNX 1070. Just curious if over the years your detectives have had multiple contacts with this man, or is this really the first time since the incident first occurred?
We obviously spoke with him this morning, but in terms of maintaining a regular dialogue with him, I don't know if that's, I wouldn't say that was accurate. We've been pursuing the case, but in terms of an ongoing dialogue, I wouldn't say that would be something that we've had.
Can you put into some perspective this 23-year cold case timeline? Is that one of the longer cases you've had recently?
Yes, 23 years is one of the longer cases. I'm not able to tell you if that's the longest case. We have certainly made some old cases.
Can you just kind of paint the picture of the scene, the
scene. You mentioned the milk bottles, the papers, but was there a door busted in, or what was the scene inside?
Sure, thanks, Dave. The scene itself was, and we can go back to the house. Again, piled up papers, spoiled milk delivery, and we ended up making entry here through an open door to a bedroom in the residence itself. But that is the living room there.
It wasn't in too much of a disarray kind of situation.
You can see for yourself what the living room looks like itself. That was a picture from the scene that day. Correct.
The suspect been involved in any other criminal activity in the ensuing years?
None that I'm aware of.
Chief Gregory, ABC 7. Have you been able to speak to the family since the arrest, and what was their reaction to this?
I have not personally, so I wouldn't be able to tell you that, but that's something that we could probably make available after I speak with our investigators.
Do you have any detectives that worked on this case from the very beginning, and if so, would you care to speak to their work?
We have the investigators that had this case initially are both retired. One is now deceased. Out of the two initial investigators that were assigned the case.
Well, thank you very much, folks. I appreciate that you're coming out and your attention. Thank you.